Hello, hello. Welcome to Myrna and Jenn read the Apocrypha. As always, the Apocrypha rules. That is what we believe. We hope that, it rules. We're hoping that everyone who's following along or just joining us now is learning a lot along with us. We are not scholars by any means, but we sure do like to read, and we do have a lot to say about it. So I hope that you guys are finding it interesting as we're discovering the Apocrypha. Now, Myrna and I are friends. We know a lot about each other, but in this part of it, we're learning more about each other, as we always like to share something about us. You guys, you got to get to know us. We're really interesting, quirky, funny people, just like everyone else is. If you ask the right questions,
we're
gotta
fun.
ask the right question. So today, Myrna, I have it for you.
All right, bring it on.
Okay. I'm going to preface this. I don't want to hear about, I'm scared of heights. Oh my gosh, that's so weird. Okay. A lot of people are. Okay. I am. That's not it. What is something that you really don't like that might be a little quirky? So no heights, no clowns, like not
no
your
snakes.
No snakes. And even today, I'm taking off the fact that dolphins might want to get with you. We'll take that off too.
Yeah. Let's see. What's kind of quirky that I just don't like? Wow. I have to think about that one. Do you know yours already?
Okay.
You go first. You go first.
I will
have to think about it.
I will say, okay, you got to think about, ooh, I kind of stumped you this time. This is fun.
You did. You stumped.
Okay. So for me, and it's going to be a little specific. It's going to be a little specific. Maybe neurotic, maybe a little. I do not specifically like men wearing flip-flop sandals.
Why is it the feet?
I don't know. I don't think it looks attractive on them. Women, it's okay. Men, I find it weird. I see it and I'm like, dude, why? Why are you wearing sandals? I don't understand this. Why are you doing that? Now, being barefoot and walking around like surfers, they're walking on the beach and going out to go surfing, or some man, and I'm going to say it this way, is frolicking in the forest. He wants to be a trail runner and he just wants his feet. Okay. But when you put the flip-flop sandal on him, it's all things are off. I can't take it. I can't look at it. I have to just be like, he's doing this. It's a bad choice. I'm done.
All right. Wow.
I feel very strongly.
That's a hard rule on that one for you.
It is a hard rule on that one. It is a hard rule. And I'm so happy that my husband doesn't really wear flip-flop sandals. If he did, we'd have a conversation.
Yeah, you'd have a conversation about it, right?
He has a pair, but he doesn't usually wear them. I don't know why he has them, but he does. But he doesn't wear them, so I'm okay, and my heart is at peace.
All right. Okay, so that is interesting. I have actually never heard someone have a problem with that.
Yeah, now you have.
Okay. As for me, the only things I can really think of, and I guess I wondered if I thought about it before when you asked me the question, but I thought maybe it didn't fit in the category. But maybe it does fit in the category. Okay. So I cannot stand sweats that don't have the scrunchy thing on the bottom to bring it up around your ankle.
The elastic on the bottom,
the elastic on the bottom.
Ankle?
Yeah. So you have all these girls' sweats, right? These yoga pants, right? That they consider in the sweat category.
Yep.
And they're like a pair of bell-bottom pants. Those aren't sweats. I'm sorry. Sweats to me have the elastic on the bottom. And so I've always make sure that my husband understands if he's going to buy me sweats, because I mostly wear sweats.
Okay.
I'll go out and wear Levi's and stuff, but I don't really wear dresses. Obviously, we've talked about that.
Yeah.
Don't really wear dress pants either.
Right.
I just don't dress up. Whatever. I'm like, they have to have the elastic on the bottom.
Okay. Hard rule for you.
Yeah, and they can't be short. They can't be short and going up. They have to go all the way down and
hug your ankle.
No, I can't stand them up above my calves.
Okay.
It's like they got my calves locked down and time out or something. No,
your calves are in prison.
Yeah, no, they got to go down all the way to the ankle and just hang there. And, yeah, so that I think, and then no, I have to wear shoes. I go barefoot. I hate going barefoot. And here's the deal. I even hate going to people's houses to ask me to take my shoes off. I'm like, I can't not have my shoes on. My feet get too cold too quickly.
Okay.
And then I have to have my shoes on. I wear my slippers in my house all the time. I always have something covering my feet because they're always cold. And I hate not having shoes on.
Now that I think about it, you do always have shoes on.
I do.
And see, for me, I like sometimes just going in socks, but that has to do more with, even now at my age, I have all wood floors except in our bedrooms in our house. And yes, when I get the desire, I slide across my own floor. And I like the socks because they allow me that opportunity.
See, I put in wood floors in my house, I don't know, about 7 years ago or something. I don't like them. I'm like, when can we have enough money to take them out?
Really?
I want my carpet back. I want my carpet back because I like sitting on the floor sometimes.
It's not as comfy. You're correct.
Yeah, and I might not wear shoes on my carpet if I'm relaxing or something.
Right.
But I have all wood floors, so I'm absolutely going to have something on my feet because it gets cold. My floors aren't heated, so yeah. Anyway, so there you go. There's two things that I have a hard no for.
I'm agreeing with one of them. Okay, see, everyone has something. Everyone. Now you get to know us a little bit more. And if we ever do something where we invite people, like anyone who's watching, if you're in the area, hey, we'll be here. Come out to lunch with us. I don't know. I feel like everyone's going to be looking at our shoes and looking at our feet. Now,
well, yeah,
it's our thing.
It's it.
All right, here we go. We're
going to now Apocrypha.
Apocrypha rules.
Ooh, bring it on.
So, guys, we are in chapter 7. And last time when we came together, we were finishing up chapter 6. And this is all about Noah. And it was talking chapter 6 talked a lot about don't eat the blood of animals. Don't do it.
Yeah.
We will see if Noah talks about that more because it seemed
that was a big deal.
Complete point, a big deal.
It was a big deal.
So, and we learned about all the times for the festivals, and it was a lot of new
moons.
A lot of new moons and what to do. And so as we move on here to 7, we're going to get we're going to start here about Noah. And the ark is still on the mountain, and the waters are just starting to recede off of it. They can kind of see other mountain tops. So we're going to get into what happens from that moment. Are you ready, Myrna?
I am ready. I'm strapped in. Let's go.
Let's go. Okay. Verse 1. And in the 7th week, in the 1st year thereof, in this Jubilee, Noah planted vines on the mountain on which the ark had rested, named Lubar, one of the Ararat mountains, and they produced fruit in the 4th year. and he guarded their fruit and gathered it in this year in the 7th month. And he made wine therefrom and put it into a vessel and kept it until the 5th year, until the 1st day on the new moon of the 1st month. And he celebrated with joy the day of this feast, and he made a burnt sacrifice unto the Lord, 1 young ox and 1 ram, and 7 sheep, each a year old, and a kid of the goats, that he might make atonement thereby for himself and his sons.
You know, the first time I read this, because I did read it before,
Uh-huh.
I thought, you know, where it talked about him making the wine and he put it in a vessel and he kept it until, I thought I read that he kept it until 50 years, and I thought that was some good wine. But it was only 5th year.
Yeah, it wasn't that long.
It wasn't as good as I thought it was.
Yeah, as good as it could have been. They say wine is better with age, but he did not let it age that much.
Yeah.
So I thought it was interesting. Okay, so they are up on this mountaintop, and I thought, isn't there a way archaeologically that they could actually maybe show that stuff had been grown up on that mountain? Like go into the earth and find grapes that had turned into raisins and stayed? Like that was just my archaeology brain.
Well, I wonder if it's because they might have been up high enough that the air has changed it from being able to see it like we would farther down, right? Where we could figure out.
Well, you know, they do those big drills. You know, they drill and do those big, long, like tubes.
Yeah.
And they
pull out a big old piece of the
yeah,
land.
and then they like to look at them, and they do it with the earth sometimes. And I'm like, wouldn't there be like little like grape seeds or something in it? It just made me think there could be some archaeology there, knowing that. And hello, I feel like he could have had a feast, but he didn't, because he burnt all of this. An ox, a ram, 7, that's okay, 1, 2, 7, 9, 10. He killed 10 things and sacrificed them. That was quite a party not to partake of the food.
Yeah.
Like go into a barbecue, but all you do is watch all the food burn.
Yeah.
I felt a little sad at that, but
I know,
yeah,
I love meat.
it just seemed like, I guess when I've read the Bible, I get that like a lot of animals were done as burnt sacrifices for lots of different reasons.
Yeah.
But this one, it was making an atonement for him and his sons. But I don't think, and this is possibly just because I don't know Jewish traditions on burnt sacrifices, the old ones as well. But 10 seemed a lot of animals to burn.
It does seem like a lot of animals. Maybe there needs to be a certain number per person.
Maybe.
Right? Maybe there's 1 per person or something.
Maybe.
I don't know. But yeah. Or maybe so many legs per person. I don't know.
I don't know. If anyone knows, please let us know.
Let us know. That would be interesting to learn. That would certainly be interesting to learn. But yeah, that does seem like a lot of animals to offer up.
Especially not like, yeah. They must have had a good flock in there. They must have had a lot of babies, because that's a lot of animals to burn.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Myrna.
Okay. Verse 4. And he prepared the kid first and placed some of its blood on the flesh that was on the altar, which he had made. And all the fat he laid in the altar where he made the burnt sacrifice, and the ox and the ram and the sheep. And he laid all their flesh upon the altar. And he placed all of their offerings mingled with oil upon it. And afterwards he sprinkled wine on the fire, which he had previously made on the altar. And he placed incense on the altar and caused a sweet savor to be acceptable before the Lord his God. And he rejoiced and drank of this wine, he and his children, with joy.
I mean, that is a great description of an altar and burning this, doing the burnt sacrifice.
Yeah, and possibly we're seeing the actual process of what it's supposed to be, because I believe that these offerings that they give up to God weren't just thrown on the altar. There was a process. There was, I believe there was words that were said as certain pieces were put on the altar and things were done. I think it's basically a ceremony. So it wasn't just throw the match on and let it burn, right? There was a process to it, right?
Right.
Because it basically was a ceremony of sorts.
The thing I find interesting is, don't drink the blood we got from chapter 6, and now and place some of its blood on the flesh. So that was part of the actual ceremony, that you then sprinkle some of the blood there. And I mean, we know from our religious tradition, being members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, that the sacrifices were in similitude of Jesus Christ. And we know that his blood was going to be shed for us for atonement, for the atonement in the garden. And so I find it interesting that you put the flesh there on the altar and then you sprinkle the blood as part of that. I found that interesting.
Yeah. I'm asking a question here.
Yeah. And then the other thing I find interesting is, as he prepared the kid first, which is going to be the baby, he also laid the fat on the altar. And that makes sense to me, because the fat is going to keep it burning. But I've never heard it. Yeah, I've never heard anywhere.
To the pan.
Yeah, I've never heard it. That they actually put the fat on there as well. But that was a lot of flesh upon that altar. That was a lot. And sprinkling the wine on the fire, you have wine as well and incense, which is interesting because so many religious traditions use incense when they have shrines or altars and that type of thing. But Christians usually don't use that, which is interesting to me as I'm reading this Apocrypha right here. That seems to be a part of it, because we keep getting this smell going up to God and this incense burning, but we don't have that at all in our tradition anymore. Why? I don't know. It's just interesting that that's been lost. What did you look up and what did you find?
Okay, so here is what my question was. He calls it flesh, and I was curious whether that's just the skin or actually the meat. And what it says here, in the context of scripture, flesh for sacrifice is essentially the same as meat, referring to the animal flesh that is offered as a sacrifice to God, with the key distinction being that the flesh for sacrifice is specifically meant to be used in a ritualistic way, according to the prescribed laws of the offering, not just any ordinary meat. So it says that it's like prepared in a certain way, and certain parts of the animal are offered and certain ones are not. Now, I got an answer to this question we've asked a couple of times. Is that like just wasting an animal, right? It says in Leviticus that if your offering is a votive offering, VOTIVE, or a free will offering, it may be eaten the same day it is sacrificed, whatever is left over. So whatever parts that you don't sacrifice, you can eat the rest of it if it is a votive offering or a free will offering. So I'm assuming a free will would be it's your own choice to make that offering to God. What a votive is, I don't know. I didn't.
So it's actually
that.
it's VOTIVE.
Yes.
So it's pronounced votive, which I didn't know.
Okay.
It's pronounced votive, and it means an object offered in fulfillment of a vow.
Okay.
Or offered or consecrated in fulfillment of a vow. So it would be a votive offering. So it's because of that vow that he has with God. So
okay, so votive is kind of a root word, would be vow. Yeah.
So that would make sense. So there are parts of it that they are to sacrifice in the process. Anything that they are not able to sacrifice, they can partake of.
Yeah, it says the meat is prepared according to the specific guidelines for a particular sacrifice.
Which I bet
different sacrifices, you have different process in which parts and how. And order and that kind of stuff for the sacrifice, which is interesting to me.
That is interesting to me. Interesting, because we know that he was given instructions. Of course, he had to have been given instructions on how to properly do it all.
Well, I'm sure he did before he left in the boat.
Right.
Growing up with Adam and all of those people,
right.
They probably all learned how to do the sacrifices according to the laws that God had presented to Adam.
Right. Does it bother you as a member of the church that we're getting Noah drinking of the wine and doing all of that? He makes his own wine when our word of wisdom says, not to drink alcoholic beverages, and wine is an alcoholic beverage.
No, because back then their wine's not like what our wine is. I mean, it only processed for 5 years.
5 months.
5
months.
And really, no, it said the 5th year, until the 5th year.
Yeah, but they were in the 4th year already. And they produced fruit in the 4th year, and he guarded it and gathered it and kept it until the 5th year.
Yeah.
So it's, I guess, about a year.
Yeah. But the reason ours it ferments as long as it does, it's because of what we put in it.
Right.
That produces alcohol. Right. And they didn't do it. Really what it is grape juice, or whatever fruits they use. It's not what we do now with it. The longer they would keep it, the more that would happen to it. I mean, I have had grape juice that we have put up, which all it is the grape juice, with some sugar in it, whatever, and you can it, and we've drinking it like 3-4 years later, and it's not fermented. It's not it's not gone that way. So, for me, and the things that I have learned, that it doesn't mean the same thing as it does now. It's not processed the same way it is now. That's my understanding. And if I'm wrong, please tell me. If anybody knows and I'm wrong, please tell me. But that is my understanding, is that they didn't put some of the things that we put in it to make it ferment.
To make it a strong alcoholic beverage. Well, let's see what happens.
Okay, do it.
So they drank of the wine and celebrated. Verse 7. And it was evening, and he went into his tent, and being drunken, he lay down and slept, and was uncovered in his tent as he slept. And Ham saw Noah his father naked, and went forth and told his 2 brethren without. And Shem took his garment and arose, he and Japheth, and they placed the garment of their shoulders, and went backward, and covered the shame of their father, and their faces were backward.
Well, it's interesting that they use the word drunken. I don't know how, at what point they were like drunk, and I don't know. But I mean, I don't know if there's something in the Jewish law. For me, I would have just put a blanket on my dad's because I was worried it was cold. I wouldn't be. It wasn't because I was ashamed of anything. It wouldn't have been because I had to go backwards so I didn't see it. I don't know. It seems like a big show to me for something that is not that big of a deal. But there might have been something in the law about it. I don't know. But I don't know. To me, it just seems like, and I've never heard this, to be honest with you. I don't know. Maybe it is in the Bible. I mean, I heard that this happened, but I didn't know that they put the blanket, the garment on their shoulders and went backwards to cover the shame of their father, and their faces were not looking at him. I don't remember that. Maybe it is. I don't remember that in the Bible. I feel bad.
Yeah, I don't fully remember that, and I don't know if this part is in the Bible. However, like,
well, I remember something about them seeing him naked. I do remember
naked, right? I do remember that. So the interesting thing is, because I just looked up really quick, like wine in the Bible and drunkenness, and one second here. So, yes, everyone seems to agree that the alcoholic content was significantly lower than it is now. But also, it was that drunkenness. But this is, of course, mostly in the New Testament, that drunkenness was a sin because it led to like debauchery and things.
Well, they weren't in control of themselves.
Correct.
They weren't in control
so
of themselves.
It wasn't that they couldn't drink the wine or whatnot, but going to drunkenness was a problem because it created problems.
Yeah. Right.
I find it interesting that here specifically that he lay down and slept. So was he drunk and he just went in his tent and took his clothes off and laid down? Because I don't think he was naked outside the tent. And then when they, I guess, went in to see Noah, they saw him naked. I'm curious if they were, you would think that nakedness was a thing that they understood, right? Like Dad takes a bath.
Yeah,
and we take baths.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. There must be something in the law.
And I'm wondering if it has to do with Adam and Eve's nakedness. That there was not still, but that was part of it. He was showing his nakedness, and that wasn't a good thing because Adam and Eve had to hide their nakedness. So I'm curious if that was a part of it for them, that they were like, oh no, Dad's naked, sinful, oh my gosh. And they couldn't even look on his shame. And so they walked backwards and covered him.
Well, what I think is really interesting, they said that they took his garment. Now, we know Adam and Eve have garments.
Yes, right? I thought that too.
And so I'm wondering if basically he was so drunk and I don't know. There's two things that happen when you get drunk. You're either, go to sleep, or you're wild, and then you're also hot or cold. Right. So I'm wondering if he got hot. And somehow took all of his clothes off, right? Even the garment layer.
Yes.
Right. And so they were picking up his garments to put back on, to lay back on top of him. So it was actually his underclothing that they were putting back on him, not just his shirt or pants or his.
I was curious there too. It had that feel to it.
Yeah, his skin of an animal laid over top. Right. That's not what it was. I think that now that we're talking about this, maybe that really what it is. He had his garments off, like you say. They were, the Adam and Eve were told to cover their nakedness. And so now that we're talking about it, maybe that is really what the problem with the sons are. But it just seems a little exaggerated, just to cover him up.
Yes, it does.
And when he wakes up, he'll feel bad, and it is what it is, right?
Right. It's just interesting.
So, yeah.
It's a strange, to me, it feels like a strange detail to throw in.
Well, but we know some other stuff that happens down the road, so you have to throw this in.
So let's see what happens then.
Okay.
10, right?
Yeah. And then Noah awoke from his sleep and knew all that his younger son had done unto him. And he cursed his son and said, "Cursed be Canaan. An enslaved servant shall he be unto his brethren." And he blessed Shem and said, "Blessed be the Lord God of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. God shall enlarge Japheth, and God shall dwell in the dwelling of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant." So it sounds a little to me, and I'm being a little judgmental here, but it does sound a little bit to me that Noah is blaming his son and cursing his son for something he did.
It sounds that way, does it not?
Noah did it. Noah unclothed himself, laid in bed, and didn't cover himself up. Yes. It was his fault. I'm sorry. I'm being judgmental. He did it, but yet he's going to curse his son forever, and make him a servant unto his brother, Shem. And that seems very harsh and a little childish, I'm saying.
So this is the way I envision it. And please, people who are listening, there's no desire to blaspheme at all. But the way the story is coming across is like Noah got drunk, he got hot or whatever, and he ends up with his clothes off. His son Ham sees it. He doesn't do anything about it. He goes and just tells his older brothers. They do something about it. Noah wakes up with a hangover the next morning and is like, "What happened?" And when he hears what happened, he's like, you didn't put anything on me, Ham? Well, guess what? Cursed be you.
No, he didn't curse Ham. He didn't curse Ham.
Well, he blessed Japheth and Shem, so the only other person is Ham.
No, Canaan. Son Canaan. Canaan is a son.
He had 4 sons? I thought he had 3.
The only reason I come up with that is read the next verse.
All right. I need to find out I'm going to say, how is Canaan related to Noah? He's a grandson of Noah.
Yeah, he's the son of Ham.
The son of Noah's second son, Ham.
Ham.
Yeah, okay, so again, though, it's like, so the curse then, "Cursed be Canaan, an enslaved servant shall he be to his brethren." So it's almost like he's cursing Ham's generations.
Children, yeah.
Children, because...
Well, it doesn't matter who he's cursing. It's his fault. He's not willing to take the blame for his fault.
I just feel like he woke up with a hangover and got annoyed and just was like, and said it, and it was like, dude, you can't just say that stuff.
It's like, here's the deal. And this is what I think. he was in his own tent.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe he should have had his garments on, but he was in his own tent.
Yeah.
All alone, sleeping.
Yeah.
Your sons come in and see you. It's your tent. Your son should have just left.
Yeah.
This is according to Myrna. This is what Myrna thinks. And if you think I'm wrong, then let us know, because I'm okay. I'd love to have the discussion. I'd love to have the discussion. But you don't the next morning, because they did cover you up, have a tissy fit. And I'm not sure where he figured out he needed to curse his grandson. I don't know if maybe he didn't feel like he should do it to Ham. I mean, Ham's the one that had the problem and went and told his brothers. I mean, it just seems like it was a big whoop-de-doo over nothing. He was in his own tent. He fell asleep. What were you coming in for without knocking is my question. I don't know if they knocked on tent doors or not, but it's like his own house. What you're in? I don't know. Anyway, that's my thoughts about it.
It just seems
it's like a whiny baby having to blame somebody, and so let's blame the grandkid.
Right? Like, why not put something on Ham? Instead, he's like, Canaan will now be your servant. And it was like, Ham, I can imagine Ham just being like, excuse me, Dad? You're the one that didn't have your garments on. I just told my brothers, I don't know what to do about this. Dad's naked, drunk in the tent, asleep. And they were like, he doesn't have his garments on. We need to fix the problem. They fixed it. And in the end, it's like, Ham, your child will be a servant to someone, all because I was like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, it's like, come on. I don't know. I think it's a little exaggeration and a little bit of to do over nothing, really. Yeah. But I don't know. Like I said, maybe there is something in the law that they were trying to help their father
with that isn't added to this.
Okay. And then Dad didn't want people to tell the story, so he had to curse somebody, I guess. I don't know.
Okay.
Let's find out what happens now.
Let's find out what happens. Okay, 13.
Yes.
And Ham knew that his father had cursed his younger son, and he was displeased that he had cursed his son, and he parted from his father, he and his sons with him, Cush and Mizraim and Put and Canaan. And he built for himself a city and called its name after the name of his wife. Seriously, like Elatamuk. And Jephthah saw it and became envious of his brother, and he too built for himself a city, and he called its name after the name of his wife, Adatanzis.
I don't know.
We're trying here.
Why do the women get such crazy names?
I know. I agree. Ham. 3 letters.
We're not
Come
done
on.
yet. Because we're not done yet. Wait till you read the next one. Go on.
Those were my 3.
Oh, those are your 3. Okay.
Yep. Okay.
So it makes totally sense. I'd get a little upset if my dad did that.
Yes.
Now, I don't know if I'd get so upset that I'd run off and build my own city and separate myself totally from my dad. But I'd be a little upset for a while. And maybe have a discussion with Dad as to, would you like to take that curse away? Because that's really a little exaggerated. I'm sorry that, you didn't like that I told the other boys, but
and that I didn't do anything. Like I could see him being that upset. His child is now cursed to be the servant of the other brothers. Like,
yeah.
It is interesting though that you have this anger that separates them, right? There are not that many people at this point on the earth, and now you're separating yourself from them. And 2,
we're already separating into tribes.
Yes, and 2, his brother was envious. Oh, he gets to have his own city. I want my own city. So he goes off to do it.
I imagine that what he liked was that saw his brother have freedom, right?
Yes.
Freedom from having to do everything that dad asks.
Yep.
You know, he separates himself. He goes and starts his own little colonization. And he's jealous that his brother doesn't have to go take care of the animals like he does because dad asks him to do it all the time, right?
He can be his own man.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's just interesting. So Ham goes off and Japheth goes off. So what about Shem? Maybe it'll help us know. Let's find out, Myrna. 16.
Yep. And Shem dwelt with his father Noah, and he built a city close to his father on the mountain, and he too called its name after the name of his wife, Sedequitalababa. That's the best I can do.
That was pretty good.
And behold, these 3 cities are near the Mount Lubar, Sedequitalababa, fronting the mountain on its east, and Naalatalnakuk. I'm just going to say that is Ham's wife. On the south, and Adonasasas towards the west, which is Japheth's wife. And these are the sons of Shem, Elam, Asher, and Arpachshad. And Arpachshad, this son, was born 2 years after the flood. And then we have Lod and Aram.
There we go.
So Shem has a little basketball team.
Yes, he does. Good for him.
Yeah, he's got a little.
And of course, those are the sons.
I'm sure there's some daughters in there, but yeah.
Yes.
So Shem doesn't leave dad, but he goes far enough, just a little bit of ways to make his own place, right? But he doesn't leave dad.
Right.
So
the mountain now has 4 settlements.
Yeah.
I love that the guys someone started the naming convention and it just caught on.
Yeah.
Name it after the wife. That's good protocol.
Yeah.
Don't name it after one of your sons. Not going to go well. Always safe to name it after mom.
Yeah, I guess. That's interesting.
So,
okay.
So there are 4. There are 4 settlements because dad
Shem, Ham, and Japheth.
Yeah. Dwell with his father. So here we go. 19. The sons of Japheth, Gomer, and Magog, and Madai, and Javan, Tubal, and Meshech, and Tyrus. These are the sons of Noah. And in the 28th Jubilee, Noah began to enjoin upon his sons' sons the ordinances and commandments, and all the judgments that he knew. And he exhorted his sons to observe righteousness and to cover the shame of their flesh, and to bless their Creator, and honor father and mother, and love their neighbor, and guard their souls from fornication and uncleanness and all iniquity. For owing to these 3 things came the flood upon the earth, namely, owing to the fornication wherein the watchers against the law of their ordinances went a whoring after the daughters of men, and took themselves wives of all which they chose, and they made the beginning of uncleanness. Okay,
why do you think it's called uncleanness?
That is a really good question.
I imagine it's because we're not obeying the law of chastity. We're not only having relations with our wife. At least that's what whoring means to me, is you're not having relations with your wife.
Right. You're not married. You're not together.
You may have a wife, but
Yeah,
you're having relations with other women.
Right.
Well, and also it says that they took themselves wives of all which they chose. Now we know that in the community at that time, the parents were the ones that chose the spouse. Is that not correct?
Well, earlier we did read about them having spouses. Because remember, the Adam and Eve's kids paired up, and then later on they ended up marrying cousins. But it didn't really say in any of that they were chosen for them. But it is a Middle Eastern tradition.
Yeah, but it didn't say that they chose them. It didn't say that they chose them for themselves either. But here it specifically says that they chose them. So I think that's going against the religious tradition of the time, even just the tradition.
I'm going to agree with you on that.
And that might be part of the problem of why it's also uncleanness, also because it's not God giving you the wife, it's you taking the wife.
Right.
Which, now it's not a big deal, but then that was way my understanding is the way they did it.
Yes, your parents chose. The parents got together and people were betrothed from a very young age, most of the time. Yeah. So it does give that feeling that choice was there, and they made the beginning of uncleanness. Of course, that fornication has always been, that law of chastity, not obeying it, has always been a sign of fornication and uncleanness or sinfulness. And I love that he just is like, he's starting to bestow this stuff upon his grandchildren, passing it on and saying that these 3 things came the flood upon the earth. There were 3 reasons for it. The Watchers took women and took wives that they chose. And he's trying to get them to realize that isn't to be had. And I really feel like you're getting kind of those commandments in there. Honor thy father and mother, love your neighbor. Those types of things are shown there, which I find interesting. It's hearkening to the new and the New Testament.
Well, it goes to I think that's human decency to in when you're living in community.
Yes.
Right.
True.
You have to learn to honor your parents, obviously, and you need to learn to love your neighbor and guard people and take care of your have respect for the opposite sex, whichever way it is. We women need to have respect for the men as much as they need to have respect. And the same thing. And I think that is just human need, that human decency way of living if you're going to live in community. Yes, they're God's laws, but they're still, I believe they're his laws because that is the best way to live, right? In a community.
Right. And I really do like this sense that he's the grandfather and he's starting to bestow his knowledge and really the actual ordinances for his grandsons.
Yeah, he's moving it along. He's
definitely moving it along. And Japheth had a lot of sons.
Yeah, he had 8.
So, but I didn't fully get because in 19 it says the sons of Japheth, Gomer and Magog and Madai and Javan, Tubal and Meshech and Tiras. And then it's a colon and says these are the sons of Noah.
Meaning he went through who was the son of the children of Ham, Shem,
and these are all
Japheth,
these are
and
all
then
the
these
sons,
are the sons of
sons and
Noah.
grandsons and grandsons of Noah. These are all of them.
Okay. Yeah, because basically what he's talking about is he's talking about the children of the three sons of Noah. And so basically it's saying, 4, 5, these are the sons of Noah. So these people that have all these kids are the sons of Noah. Is 12. I believe that's how English is done. I don't know. Maybe I'm.
Yeah, Japheth. So Japheth and Shem, and then we got Ham's children. Yes.
Yeah. He only had 4.
Okay, so he had I think that was 16 grandchildren.
Grandsons.
Noah had 16 grandsons.
Sons.
It's a good amount.
There's daughters in there.
Yeah, I'm sure there are.
With only 3 kids, that's a good amount.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah.
For him to then start moving it forward. And I don't know. I'll admit, I think it's a little ironic that he does say that and all the judgments that he knew, he exhorted his sons to observe righteousness and to cover the shame of their flesh. I'm like, yeah, that's rich coming from you, buddy. Well, I think the altar was getting used.
Yeah, I think that
in a very serious way.
I think that that's normal. I think that's part of the law, and that's the problem that they had at the time. But what you said, that's a lot of sons, a lot of grandkids. Well, my dad has 6 daughters, and he only ended up with 9 grandsons. So he did really good. Get 16 grandsons out of only 3 sons, of only 3 kids, right?
To get 16. I mean, those ladies deserve to have the cities named after them for that.
They do, because there's more.
There's even more.
Sure, there's daughters in there. I'm sure there's daughters in there. So that's quite a harem, so to speak.
So I have read the rest of this, and we're gonna get into some crazy territory with the next part of this. So if you enjoyed this one, the next one where we finish up chapter 7 here, we're gonna be talking about some things that don't usually come up in a lot of Christian conversations of the Bible. This part I don't remember reading this in the Bible.
This is where we're going to.
The Apocrypha is going to be the non-canonized, definitely here. So, but we will get through it and see if there's something for us to learn or understand, because we're going to basically be talking about the giants again. And yes, the question becomes, where did the giants come from? If it's Noah, Ham, Shem, and Japheth and their wives and kids, where did they come from? So we will have questions. We will have questions. Okay.
Yeah, we will. We will. Oh, Noah, that was a lot.
It's a lot of genealogy in this part, and it's a lot of interesting things to see Noah and his reaction to getting a little tipsy there. But I really do think the key here is that there seems to be this association with being clothed, because Adam and Eve needed to hide their shame. So in traditions where you are not allowed to show your skin,
right?
It comes from this. I think that it definitely comes from this idea with Adam and Eve that you have to cover your nakedness.
Yeah. It seems like we're kind of seeing some reasoning for the garments, right? That we now wear nowadays.
Yes. That there are reasons, and it was even instilled back then that you shouldn't be without them. So interesting. Okay, so here we go, guys. Thank you so much for listening to our thoughts and ideas here as we've learned a little bit today. And definitely, please like, subscribe, comment, do all those things that you really in your heart want to do. And if there's anyone you think will be interested, please just send them our link. And because we really would like to have more engagement from people on these topics, because Myrna and I are fascinated, and half the time our mind is blown.
Yeah, and we're not, we're not real scholarly in that we don't, I mean, it's not that we don't read. It's just that we're information as to the traditions of the people at this time are not necessarily in our wheelhouse. But we love what we're learning. And if you guys know things that we don't know, please throw them in the notes and throw them in the comments. And
we love it.
We can take them with us and learn more and present it to everybody if that's what we feel we need to do. But thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thank you so much. And we like to always say, Apocrypha rules. Yeah.
All right.
All right, guys. Thank you. We will see you next time.